All right, Lyric Armstrong, the real estate agent advocates. Okay, we have been looking at as much as we can relative to real estate. And as you can tell, real estate is not just its own thing. It happens to come into court in landlord tenancy, family law, and probate. So last time we saw a couple of probate cases that kind of showed when you don't have a will, if you do have a will, but you don't have a trust, do you have an heir? Do you not have an heir? So we're going to do some more probate thanks to Chambers County in Texas. We're going to get right on into it and see what's happening in their courts. Okay. Now, as you know, I'm going to swear everybody in. I think that's their style. For all of the witnesses at one time.
Like a little house on the prairie.
Faster, except for the fact it's a little house on the prairie. That's
good night, John boy. All right, Chambers County Court come to order.
With the accents,
all of you that are going to testify, if you will raise your right hand.
Here, so
we can swear you in.
Okay, it's hard for me to hear or to decipher some of the wording with the accent, so I have to keep it at normal speed so that I can make sure to decipher. There is going to be a very loud witness. Not intentionally, his mic is extremely loud and everybody else's mic is extremely low. So we turn up the volume to hear everyone else, but consequently, please unplug or turn your volume down low because he is loud. And I like loud, but he is loud. His mic is good. I need one of his mic. I need his mic. I think it's his computer, but I think we'll just beware. Okay, just beware. That's all the point I can make. He's loud.
If you're testifying, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct? So help you God?
Yes. Okay, you can put your hand down. All right, cause number 92, the study James Mosley. Good morning, Miss Dennis, Miss Savage.
Good morning, Judge.
And you may proceed, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge. Mosley, would you please state your full name for the record?
Kimberly Dawn.
He's trying to say it.
You have to unmute, Mr.
Can't hear him, but when he gets unmuted, loud. Well, unplug.
Yeah, Mr. Mosley, you are muted, sir.
So just wait, Your Honor. Just
give me 1 second, Judge.
Okay.
She's in a separate room from him, I think. Same location. Because he hasn't. Most times they're separated on Zoom. Of course, when you're.
I apologize about that.
In the same
okay.
He's still muted. He says he's unmuted.
But the reason for the counselor being separated in person, on Zoom, I guess is so that they're not giving any type of signals to the witness. Whereas when you're in court, they're on the stand, the counselor is behind the podium, so consequently they're already at a distance and any type of signaling would be noted by everyone. So until he testifies, he can't be in the same room with her. If he goes in the same room with her, I don't know, but that's the reason why they're separated, but yet in the same vicinity. Okay.
If it's like mine, it should be down on the bottom left-hand corner.
Dwight Lee Mosley.
You got it.
All right, sorry.
And I knew it was coming. It still scared me.
Okay.
And what's your relationship to the decedent?
It's my brother.
Okay, and did he die on June 7th of 2022?
Oh, he's loud.
Yes, ma'am.
And he died at St. Luke's, is that correct, in Montgomery County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. He drove a truck, correct? A semi truck? So
yes.
Really no fixed place of residence. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that, please? I can't hear that.
I can hear you.
Okay, so Mr. Mosley drove a truck, is that correct?
Yes.
And when he stayed anywhere, he stayed with you. So he didn't really have a fixed place of residence.
No, he lived in his truck.
I would sur- I would surmise that he is extra loud because someone turned up the microphone when they needed to turn up the speakers. So he can't hear. So that's probably what happened. But he is loud.
And
Yeah. We can
Okay.
hear you, baby.
I'd see him once a year.
Okay. But you were his closest relative and you lived in Chambers County, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. To your knowledge, did decedent ever marry?
yes,
And he divorced that wife? Is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
In the 90s.
Okay. And we have a necessity for the administration of the estate, don't we?
Do what?
We need to administer his estate, is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Did he have any children?
No, ma'am.
Did he have any siblings?
Me and another brother, an older brother,
Okay. And what is your older brother's name?
Herman Mosley.
And is he deceased?
Yes, ma'am.
But he had a child, is that correct?
Yes, he had an adopted son that he had adopted.
Okay. And that child's name is what?
Thomas Mosley.
And he has signed a waiver of consent to this administration, is that correct?
I believe so. I haven't talked to him.
Okay. I'll pass this witness, Judge.
Ms. Savage.
Okay, Mr. Mosley, in regard to your brother, you testified that he was a truck driver and he drove, I guess, all over the United States, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but he used you as his home base.
Yeah, he needed a place to get his mail, and whether he took care of it or not, I'd see him. That's what he would do. He would use my address, and he just drove, lived out of his truck.
Okay, and let's go back to you testified that you thought he was married. I talked to you about this before. Did you know where he got married, where he got divorced?
Atlanta, Georgia. He lived there for a while. He got married.
But do you know where he got divorced?
It'd have to, I would think it'd be in the same area.
But you don't know for sure.
No, ma'am.
The reason I'm asking, I tried to look that up and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find the information. So are you for certain that he even ceremonially married this woman?
I'm pretty sure because I think he had mentioned my dad being there and a story about a wedding ring.
Okay.
So I'm sure. So I'm not positive.
Do you know her name?
Oh, unless I mentioned it earlier, I would know it if I hear it.
Did you ever see the woman?
Yes, I did see her
How many times?
once or twice.
And that was in the 90s?
Yeah, I believe so. They'd actually come down, and I went back to their house in Atlanta, or around Atlanta.
Around Atlanta?
Flower, man, I can't remember the town. That's been so long ago.
Okay. So, but you feel certain, you understand that if this goes through and you and your brother's son are awarded the property, that this woman could possibly come back for her share?
She'd be coming back from the dead.
Is she dead?
I heard she passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was like 20 years older than him. So,
Okay. But you understand, that everybody at this point in time, we're kind of clueless as to where all this took place.
oh, yeah, I understand. But
And how'd you hear she was dead?
he told me.
Oh, he told you she was dead?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So the state has to pay for this inquiry to transpire for you to go through probate. She's already spoken with him. So I don't know if she did an official deposition of him or if she just took down information. But you can see that she didn't ask, was the woman alive? Did he know she was alive? Did she know anything about her living arrangements? If she lived with family, what her family's names might have been, you know, anything that could help her give location and identity to the woman. She's finding out right now, oh, she did. I've been looking for this woman and she's dead. But at the same time, it's like, one of the things that she did ask was, are you sure that it was a ceremonial wedding, meaning that there was a ceremony? Because certain states have common law marriages, and common law marriages just mean you guys live together. You live together after so long that now you're common law marriage, and due to the common law, is that from Spain? And common laws from Spain, right? Because codes and codification comes from English law. So I think, oh Lord, I hope I'm right. So anyway, so with common law means that you guys living in common, you guys sharing a bank account, you know, you're living as husband and wife, even though you haven't gone down to the courthouse and officiated that with an actual certificate or done some type of ceremony that is related to your religion, because there are religious ceremonies that are specific in certain, you know, certain religions or weddings. So she confirms this with him that it was a ceremonial marriage, because he says, yeah, my dad went, there was a ring, but she can't find the paperwork on it. So that's kind of odd that if you looked in the state of Georgia in its totality, that you could not find the paperwork, the registration, the marriage license and certificate. And sometimes what happens, and I have known a couple that's happened, they had the license, they got married, had the ceremony, but they did not mail everything back to the state or their clerk, whatever. So it didn't ever get recorded with the county clerk's office, because as the pastor signed it after the ceremony was done, they failed to mail it. So maybe that happened in this particular ceremonial wedding, that they never really mailed it, or she hasn't done a thorough search. I'm not for certain. Because you got to search by
Okay,
county.
back to my
That's why I
question.
say
If
that.
she's not dead and she pops up and asks for part of the money, you understand that that could happen?
Oh, yeah, that's yeah, I understand. Anybody, but I'm the last one of all of us.
Okay.
I do know that.
But you feel certain that she's out of the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And if not, it's no big deal.
there was
I'm
no
not trying.
children. Yeah, there were no children born to her.
No.
I pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Dennis.
Come on.
She muted.
Is that you?
Ms. Dennis, you're muted.
I apologize. Mr. Mosley, you had
Yeah.
another witness. Do you see her on, Lisa, on the, I don't see.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Okay, call your next witness, Counsel.
I call Lisa Mosley.
Wait, I'm missing.
Can you unmute?
What happened?
Lisa Mosley.
Yes.
There, who
Okay.
is?
You had
Yeah.
another witness. Do you see her on, Lisa, on the, I don't see.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Oh, wait,
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
she's on mute.
Okay, call your next witness, Counsel.
I call Lisa Mosley. Can you unmute?
See the look on her face. She's, oh my God, I'm muted.
That button. Okay, I got it.
Okay, there we go. Miss
I
Mosley,
I
please
don't
state
know,
your
did
full
she
name for
get-
the record.
Lisa Lejeune Mosley,
I don't think
And
she's
where do you
under.
currently reside?
Oh,
6407 Chase Knoll in Orange, Texas.
Okay, and are you familiar with this family, the Mosley family, and the history of the decedent?
Yes.
Do you have any interest in the decedent's estate?
No.
How long have you known the decedent?
About as long as I've known Dwight, so getting close to 16 years.
Okay.
17.
To your knowledge, was the decedent ever married?
No. Well, yes, Dwight's told me he was married before, but I never met her.
Okay. Do you know about when he got divorced or if he got divorced?
From what I understand, it was in the 90s sometime.
Okay. Did the decedent have any children?
No,
Did he adopt any children?
nope.
To your knowledge, did he raise any children in his household or anything like that?
No, I don't think the truck driving would have allowed that.
Okay.
He
Do
was
you
on the road. a lot.
know the decedent's parents' names?
Yeah, James and Norma.
And are they currently alive?
No.
Okay, so they're deceased.
Yes.
How many siblings did the decedent have?
He had Dwight and his brother Herman. Just two.
Okay. Is Dwight's the applicant right now, correct?
Yes.
And is Herman deceased?
Yes.
And did Herman have any children?
An adopted son,
Okay, and what was his name?
Thomas Mosley.
Okay, I have no further.
That irritates me. They've done this twice where it's like, oh, did he have children? Oh, he had an adopted son. Like, he had a son. How he came about having that son is not up for question. The only time that they ask them to attest to if the deceased has had a child through adoption or otherwise, because even if the child is adopted, they want to make sure to account for them, and they don't want certain family members or friends discounting them because they are adopted. I am shocked to know how I've heard this before, where because the kids are adopted, the other family, the blood family, like the aunties and the uncles, want to attest the will and fight for the inheritance, though that there's a will that gives it to the children, but they want to say they're illegitimate because they're not adopted. That is not the way the law works. If the children are adopted, it's as if you gave birth to them. You are responsible for them in every single way possible, regardless if they're naturally born to you or adopted to you. Okay.
The questions, Jay.
So annoying.
Ms. Savage.
Ms. Mosley,
Mhm.
I guess I missed this. Or were you married to a Mosley?
Was I married to a Mosley? No.
Or you're a Mosley?
I was a LeBlanc with my first husband. I'm a Mosley now. So Lisa Lejeune is my first and middle name, and Mosley is my last name.
Okay. Was that your name but prior to marriage?
Mm-hmm. It was my previous husband's name, Lisa Lejeune LeBlanc, but when we
Okay.
got married, it became Mosley.
And you testified that you knew him, the decedent, for about 16 years?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What is her lineage? Her husband's name is LeBlanc, June LeBlanc. And when she got married, it became Mosley. Huh?
Okay. And would you see him at Dwight Mosley's home?
Yeah, he would come.
But I think Miss Savage's question should have been more poignant. Like, are you related to the Mosleys? Because she says she doesn't have an interest in the estate, but do you have a familiar relation? Because you have a similar last name, if not the exact last name. It's a common last name, so not necessarily the spelling. That spelling looks different, but nonetheless, I don't see clarity being had before the court on that.
A lot of times if he was just passing through Baytown, we lived near the interstate, and we would bring him his mail. Or there was a time when we lived in Bridge City, he used that address too. He did come stay at our house for about a week at one point, just to visit. We saw him, we had a camp at the river at one time. He went and stayed over there for about a month. So we went by and saw him then. So he was kind of in and out, just on the road all the time.
So he was all over the place.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that truck.
Mm-hmm.
And your knowledge about the marriage was what you heard from Dwight Mosley?
Yes.
The decedent never mentioned that to you?
No, he never mentioned it to me.
Okay. And as far as, his brother's child, Thomas Mosley,
Mhm.
that's the only other heir besides Dwight that you know of that would take
Yes.
anything under his estate?
Yes.
What estate does he
I
have?
pass the witness.
Counselor, call your next witness.
Judge, I will call Betty Brown.
Betty, come on up, Betty Brown, tell us some things. Where's she at?
Could not hear her. Huh?
Ms. Brown, did we swear you in a while ago?
No.
Swear you in?
Hmm.
Ask her.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
How about now? Can you hear me?
A little bit, tiny bit better.
Okay. Were you sworn in a few minutes ago?
I swear, where is the paralegal or the assistant to help the Mosleys in this, or Ms. Brown and Mosley? I am 100%, oh wait, can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm almost 100% sure that they can't hear because they turned up the microphone sound and didn't turn up the speaker sound. And that's why they think they've turned it up as high as it can go, but
Yeah.
they did not.
Was he
That's why-
sworn in a
that's why
while
I
ago?
Huh?
Was he sworn in? Say no.
No.
Okay, raise your right hand, please.
It's probate court. Obviously, this court is looser than most, and that's kind of what we were talking about some time ago. Being knowledgeable about your particular judge, as well as you're knowledgeable about the rules of court in general. You have to get the judge's order, the general order for that courtroom. Not every single courtroom is exactly the same. And this judge, bless his heart, he's like, these are my people. I understand. Technology is not everybody's friend, and so he's giving them all kinds of leeway because they have been leading. Well, I don't think the leading questions matter in probate court, but as far as these this factor that this other witness is telling her what to say, it's cute.
Can y'all turn the volume up on the computer, Mr. Mosley?
Yeah, it's at 100.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
But you got to
All right,
turn
Linda,
the
swear in,
Zoom volume.
please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Tell the people
Yes.
do the Zoom.
All right,
Because I didn't get sworn in a while ago.
You
So,
weren't?
I knew
All
it.
right, raise your right hand.
me?
You.
Do you
Okay.
swear or affirm that the testimony you gave was true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, Melinda.
All right, Ms.
Yeah.
Dennis, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Brown, would you state your full name for the record?
I'm lost here. I can't hear. Your full name? Letty Ruth Brown,
And where do you currently reside?
Your address?
23515 Highway 146 North, Cleveland, Texas, 77327.
Right, you guys, don't take her address and start messing with her. Things that are made public through the court system have sometimes some very specific confidential identifiers. Her address may in fact be listed. It may not be. I don't care. Don't start, sending her stuff. Leave Miss Brown alone. And hopefully Melissa's going to help her with that volume. And you
Ms. Brown,
realize
are you familiar with the history and the marital history of the decedent?
Yes.
I'll just keep it in there. Do you have any interest in the decedent's estate?
No.
How did you know the decedent?
How do I know him?
Yes, how did you know him?
Nephew.
Okay, so he was a nephew?
Yes,
Okay, so
Right,
you've known him how long?
all of his life.
Okay.
right,
Did you know that he got married?
Yes, I knew he married.
Okay. Do you know if he got divorced or not?
He said he did.
Do you know about when he got divorced?
90s maybe?
Okay. Did he have any children?
No,
Did he have any children that he adopted or took into his home to raise or anything like that?
no.
Okay. How many siblings did the decedent have?
2.
Okay. What are their names?
Dwight Mosley and Herman Mosley.
Okay. And Dwight is the applicant in this proceeding, is that correct?
Yes,
Is Herman deceased?
Yes,
Did Herman have any children?
one adopted son,
And what was his name?
Thomas.
Okay, do you know of any other heirs that would be in this family that would have an interest in the decedent's estate?
No, ma'am, no.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Ms. Savage.
Okay, Ms. Brown, do you recall talking to me in the past?
Do you recall talking to Ms. Savage in the past?
Someone called me. I don't remember her name.
Okay, that was me. And you testified that you were the aunt of the decedent?
You're the aunt of the decedent?
Yes,
Okay. And in regard to what the decedent told you, you just testified that he told you he got divorced?
Did he tell you he got divorced?
yes.
And when did he tell you that?
When did he tell you that?
I don't remember, only the 90s, I said, I think. I'm not sure.
It was a long time ago?
Yeah, quite a long time, quite a while.
Did you ever see him? Did you ever see him with the lady that he said he divorced?
Did you see?
No, I did not.
Okay. And in regard to children, did
Oh my goodness. Okay, maybe she's the maternal aunt. I would try and figure out, is she the maternal or the paternal aunt? And if she is related to the father, if the father went to the wedding, to the ceremony, did the father tell her anything about this particular wife?
the decedent ever mention having any children to you?
Children, no.
This is a mess.
And so is you're basing it on what he's told you or someone else has told you, is that correct?
Well, basically, yes, I guess that's correct.
And in regard to Herman, the deceased brother, isn't it true that you told me about him having a son named Thomas?
Yes,
Okay, because I called and asked you if there were any other heirs, and you, and when, in the conversation, you remember telling me that Herman was deceased?
yes, I told
Okay,
you.
and that he had that one child.
Yes,
And there was no other kids that Herman had that you know of?
no.
Okay. And how often would you see Mr. James Mosley?
See him? Not often, because he was always in the truck. Maybe once a year.
Okay. And where would you usually see him?
Or see what?
Where would you usually see him when you saw him?
Different places. Sometimes he would just call me and say, I'm here, come eat lunch. Sometimes he would go to his brother's campsite in Livingston, just, for a day probably. Is all.
Did you
however
ever
long.
send him any mail? Did you ever communicate with him by mail?
Did you ever get mail from him?
No.
Okay. And were you?
So that wasn't the question. So Ms. Savage said, did you ever communicate with him via mail? Like, did you send him a birthday card? Did you send him any notation? Did you ever send him any mail? And Miss Melissa, in the fact that Madam Brown cannot hear, is trying to, restate the question, but did not restate it verbatim and actually changed the question to, has he ever sent you any mail? And that was not her question. But effectually, it would be a good question to ask, but that wasn't the question that she asked.
Aware that he used.
Which is why, in honesty, this type of flow, I cannot see happening in many other courts outside of like probate or maybe family court, especially when you're dealing with children or individuals with hard of hearing, but they would do have special measures such as headphones with higher volume within the headphones, so those who are hard of hearing can hear. And then children would have the ad litems, so the guardian ad litem would be there to assist them. But it's not, the parent would be there, right? It's not necessarily that particular attorney that's on their side would be there, because you want to give impartiality. This particular hearing doesn't seem to be that formal in that regard. It's okay, I'm not complaining, I'm just giving understanding of what normally would transpire.
Used, Dwight Mosley's resident is aware, okay. And were you aware that he used, Dwight Mosley's resident as his home base, more or less?
Did he use Dwight's home as his home base, his residence?
Yes.
How do you
Okay.
define home base?
That was pretty common knowledge?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I pass the witness.
All right, Counselor.
Judge, I have no further witnesses or questions.
Okay, so I don't see a copy of the declaration of heirship. Have you filed that, Counselor?
Judge, we were waiting on Ms. Savage's signature. We did file it, but it got rejected. So as soon as we get that signature, we're gonna upload it.
Judge
so-
may,
Witnesses or questions?
Okay, so I
Sorry,
don't
guys,
see
I
a
missed that.
copy of the declaration of heirship. Have you filed that, Counselor?
Judge, we were waiting on Ms. Savage's signature. We did file it, but it got rejected. So as soon as we get that signature, we're gonna upload it.
Judge
so-
may, I sent that to her, sorry, I was out yesterday evening. I sent that to her this morning, and I did make one change on the judgment declaring heirship, which I hadn't got to talk to Ms. Dennis about. The last paragraph I struck out, it had "in no administration is necessary." And it's my understanding they are asking for an independent administration to get some funds that are on deposit. So,
Yes, Judge, that's fine. I'll talk with Ms. Savage and we'll get it uploaded as
Okay,
soon as
so-
we're done.
okay.
Who
And I
have you-
added, the interest in personal and real property in the next paragraph. I put in real property, and then I
Okay,
signed
that's
it.
fine. Y'all make the changes and get them to me. What about the heirs? Who have you determined are the heirs?
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't hear that.
Who have you determined that are the heirs?
The heirs are, Dwight Mosley and Thomas Mosley, each getting one half of the estate.
And Ms. Savage, you agree to that?
Yes, and I just see now, they've got Herman, Mosley listed in the order. He needs to be struck out because he's deceased. The two would
Right,
be
so-
Thomas Mosley, the nephew, and Dwight Mosley, the brother.
Fine, so Ms. Savage, you agree those are the only two heirs?
Yes, Judge, as far as a wife, I tried to look that's just a
Okay,
dead end street, you know.
all right. Well, y'all get that order straight and I'll prove those two heirs once it's done. All right, Ms. Dennis, did you prove up the independent administration when you first started? We've been going so long.
Yes, Judge, I did.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and approve the order granting independent administration and authorize letters of administration. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, I think Lisa is the administrator. I forgot at this point. I'm like the judge. We've been going so long. That's an interesting unfolding, because this particular gentleman didn't necessarily stay in one place, but he, of course, used his brother, as we found out, his brother's home as a place to collect his mail, to have an address to be identified by, maybe have his ID in and so forth. Interestingly, he had almost a nomadic type of lifestyle, in the sense that he was driving his big rig, maybe a 16-wheeler, all across the nation, making deliveries. And that was his job, and he lived in his truck. But he had time to get a wife in Georgia at one point. and they claim he had time to get divorced by that wife in Georgia, right? No records of either could be found as much as one was searched for, right? Because she happens to be deceased, and that didn't become known until after this particular hearing. So one leaves you wondering how much resource was really put into this search. Was every county searched by his name, different spellings of his name, and you know, in various time frames, right? To see if he had any linkage to the young lady. But if she is deceased and, you know, they did divorce, then she does become a mute subject relative to his inheritance. It passing down to his nephew due to his other brother being deceased is reasonable. That's kind of what happens. But that's after everyone is, you know, dealing with it. Now, they didn't identify what it is. They did say real property if there is any, and of course, liquidated properties, all properties involved, but that's not to say that he had any. But I will say he may very well have a highly substantial estate. You know, he just might be that guy, because I know I have met, I don't know them too well, but I know one of the Orange County families that have a lot of investment property in Orange County, and I know them really well. Then I know another that has even more than them, kind of through extension. And the ones who have like the most income property and is kind of renowned as being the ballers of Orange County in California. You see them walking by, you wouldn't notice them. You know, ripped jeans, flip flops, and a shirt. You know, button. Sometimes a Hawaiian shirt. Sometimes just a plain white button down shirt. Some jean shorts, and you just keep it rocking, just keep it moving. And no watch, you know, maybe the band for the ring. Now, what their wives are doing may be very well different, but the husbands are very low key. You have to know them by face to really know they are who they are. And there is a great deal of that old money kind of style where you keep under the radar and you keep low key. So just because old sir was on the road again and he was driving all around the country does not mean he didn't have a substantial estate. So it is good that they have worked to some degree to try and identify who the proper heirs are. They've gotten that decided by the court. They have 2 heirs now, and it will go to those 2 heirs, 1/2 and 1/2. They will finish doing the paperwork, maybe have a couple more hearings, and then that will be the end of that. What concerns me is if he was a traveling man, you know, what was that? Rolling Stone. There used to be that saying. If he was a Rolling Stone, did he have more than one home? Like, did he? And who would know, right? Unless he told them. So he only told them of one person. Hopefully, no one is going to be missing out on their inheritance. But think about how he's left it. He's left it for his brother to figure it out, to attest to it, his nephew and his aunt. His aunt who's like, I don't know. You know, and I was thinking, there's people in my family, I will not leave it up to them to figure out, okay? And I've been married for 20 years plus, right? So I'm going on 21 years coming up. I'm not going to, they would obviously know, everyone who knows me would say, give it to her husband, because to her husband and her kids. But, you know, they get funny all of a sudden. Well, she told me once I was supposed to get the house on, you know. No, I did not. So don't you let that happen to you. If I were you, as a suggestion, take upon this courtroom and take a look and say to yourself, would I want the investigation to be this thorough or not so thorough in determining who my heirs are? And forget it, just forget it. Who cares? Why have them waste their time at all? You just have a will and a trust, and no one has to guess. No one has to go looking into the records to try and find marriages and whatever have you. And another thing that's interesting to me is a lot of times marriages, probably wouldn't go to the recorder, the county recorder, because they would be in the Bible, right? A lot of times it was like the records were in the Bible. So I wonder if they even looked at the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is also known for keeping records, substantial records relative to lineage, and it might be a good place to look. But I doubt they went that far, because that's not in accordance to what is necessary. It's just to look in the county records that are of the state. So do you want them to look on your behalf, or do you just want to tell them? I think you should just tell them. Go ahead, call that attorney, call me, find somebody to know some things. Write up a will and a trust, make it simple. Why are you making it so hard on everybody else? You did, we loved you. Okay, great. Write it out. Let us know what you want to do with the big rig, the life insurance, the pot of gold in the backyard, you know, the vintage car, you know, the house over by the lake, whatever it is that you got. Go ahead and tell the people, write it out, have it legitimized by an attorney. In my opinion, I think that's, you know, right, typing it up is a little better because it's a clearer copy that we can read and understand. By all means, have a will and a trust so it doesn't have to go to probate and you have people investigating in counties they don't know where to look, and then family members who don't remember where to look, right? So all right, it's Lyric Armstrong, your real estate agent and advocate. I hope you're learning some things. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because if you haven't learned, let someone else get that chance to learn, okay? Lyric Armstrong, real estate agent and advocate.